All right. I'm going to call the Building Advisory Board for Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 to order. We'll start with our roll call on my right.
David Miller.
David Holmgren.
William McBride.
Mike McCall.
Scott Kraus.
Greg Nichols.
All right. Request that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
Yes, I confirm the packet was posted and required notice was provided.
All right. Approval of the minutes from last meeting, December 14th. Any changes?
I've got a correction. Chair Frazier, who was not chair at the time, did not call the meeting to order. Chair McCall called the meeting to order.
Correct. Any other changes? If none, I'll take a motion.
Move that we accept the minutes with the amendment to the chair position.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Same sign. Motion passes. New business. Public hearing. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak today? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Legislative matters, we have none on the schedule. We'll move on to administrative items. Annual BAB report to the City Commission.
Right. This is something that we do every year. We fill out this form, and then I basically will go over it here in the meeting, and I bring it before you guys to see if you have any edits or anything else that you'd like to do in the upcoming year. So we can kind of go over this, what I've got so far. List 3 to 5 accomplishments on your board or commission that your board or commission has achieved. The board was educated on the aspects of the code footprint. Our former plans examiner Rick Fay did that for you guys last year. Board review of contractor licensing text amendment. Board education on new residential and standard foundation design, and the board held training on citizen and volunteer board requirements. Goals for the upcoming year. The board will work with staff to improve code appeal and property maintenance appeal hearing process. The board will continue to address the continuing education needs for the contractors and will provide education on providing CEU opportunities. The board will continue to seek involvement from the design professionals and contractors to ensure that we are providing the best service possible to the residents of Salina, and the board will begin process for reviewing and updating Salina's model construction codes, and we'll cover that in a little bit more in depth later in the agenda here. I didn't have any other items of interest. And then, of course, on the last page there, we have attendance. We only had 3 meetings last year, so if you missed 1 or 2, it kind of knocks you down quite a bit. But anyway, we'll be meeting more in the upcoming year, that's for sure. But is there anything else that you guys would like to list for goals or accomplishments I forgot, or anything else that you'd like to add to this form before it gets submitted to the City Commission?
Just a point that we talked about before, I'm shown as missing 1 meeting because it was a Zoom meeting, and in my case, I read the wrong time because 2 times were put out. So can that be put down as I'm perfect attendance? And that's not a big deal, but I would like it to be perfect attendance. And it was an error on somebody's part that they didn't have the correct starting time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
Like I said, it's not that big a deal, but I always had perfect attendance.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else?
I don't think so at this time. Let's see, discussion on code updates.
All right. I've been working with our department director on getting a timeline for getting started on that, and the plan is to start in about the third quarter. So I'm thinking July or August, we're going to get started on that and start setting up code hearings, subcommittee meetings, things like that, getting those decided, who's going to be on what committee, and get started on all that business. If you've been on this board before, when we've done this, you'll know it's usually between 1 and 2 years process. So we've got our work cut out for us, but I'm excited to get dug into it, and that's where we're at with that. So the plan is mid-July or early August is getting started on that.
So we're looking at 2018 is what we're,
Yeah, that's what we'd talked about in previous meetings is the 2018 codes. And then, of course, we can also, right now, we're under the 12 for most of them, 11 NEC, and the 2009 Energy Code.
right.
And then we can talk and discuss about that to see if we want to, about the Energy Code. And
Yeah, there'll be some discussions for that section, I'm sure.
Just a quick side, will uniform plumbing codes still exist at that time? Is there a 2018 uniform plumbing code?
yes, there is.
There is.
There's actually a 21 plumbing code out now.
So would it be worth our consideration to look at the 21 codes as a point, since we're in 22 now?
It could be. Generally, in past practice, with the city, we've adopted a cycle behind because the newest codes that come out, a lot of times, maybe don't have quite all the bugs worked out, I think was the thought process in the past. But we can definitely consider that. We can consider all our options here.
Yeah, typically, usually a six years upgrade cycle is quite a bit of code change to go to from 2012 to 2018. There's a lot of changes that have been made over the time. So
The
go to
last
21, and I mean, yes, you get some of the upgrades, but it could be some very costly that everybody would not be willing to accept at this time.
like,
They're
just
coming.
as an example, the last time we adopted codes was in 2016, and that's when we adopted the 12s. So,
Right.
but
But I think some of the things that you talk about, the bugs get worked out. Well, they get worked out on the next series of codes as well. So they might introduce the new bugs. So it doesn't bother me. I just am curious if anyone has a flavor for that.
yeah.
Has
And
there been any word from the state? Are they looking at upgrading anytime to
I have called and checked with the state fire marshal's office, and they just say they're working on it. That's the response I get.
yeah, 'cause they're still on the 06, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So we're way ahead of what the
We're
state.
modern. That's
Yeah,
what
we're
you're
modern. Yeah.
I'm in a Heart of America chapter of ICC chapter for building officials, and we have quite a few meetings and discussions and things like that. There's only a couple of jurisdictions in the state that have gone to the 21. Most of them are going to the 18, or have gone, or already at the
Right,
18.
yeah, a lot of them have already gone to
Yeah.
either the 15 or 18, but a lot of them are going to 18, so.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Sean.
And as a rationale for that, our curriculum at the college when we teach the trades, it's harder and harder to find the older textbooks so that we can match up with older codes. So if people are trying to train and go to work here, they're looking at some of the newest codes, and then they have to go to work and work with codes that are older. So it's good. It's not a bad thing to know what the new code is and the difference, but we try and update our textbooks frequently so that we're up to date as the new group of young contractors and your employees come out. We like to keep them as up to date as possible, but that's the rationale behind where I'm looking at as why this might be important to look at.
But you have the code books themselves and you teach from the code books themselves?
Yes, in many cases, we do use the code books as part of our curriculum, yes. But again, most of the code books aren't going to change that much. It's a few things in the code books each year that change.
Yeah, the biggest will be into mechanical, electric, or mechanical plumbing, whether we stay with uniform versus international, because there is some significant changes between those two.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, it seems like in the research that I've done, the I codes are generally ahead of the uniform codes as far as new applications and things like that. And then as the uniform comes out for another year, they generally get closer to what the I codes are, and then the I codes move a little further, and then the uniform will catch up. It's not that they're bad or worse codes or anything like that at all. It's just that they generally take their time in adopting new thoughts, policies, procedures, things like that. So, but there's good and bad in both of all that. So.
all right. Any other comments or concerns on the updating codes?
We will.
Hearing none, we'll move on to the public forum. We have anyone on Zoom? It doesn't look like it. And we have no comments from the public. I guess we'll move to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I wanted to, number 4 there on the backside, there was a update on the code
Oh.
amendment.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah. Back on January 10th, City Commission passed on first reading with discussion and further direction from legal. Ordinance 22-11095, amending Chapter 8, Article 3, Division 2 of the Salina Municipal Code regarding building and contractor licensing. What that means is after you guys saw it at the last BAB meeting, legal had made a couple of changes to the ordinance than what you guys saw, and nothing in content or regulation. They just wanted to make a few notes and additions in there to make it more clear as to who could do what. The whole idea of the ordinance was mainly to change so that Class A, B, and C contractors could now do swimming pools as opposed to where they could not before. And then they also wanted to clarify in there about they changed Chart 2. I don't believe Chart 2 was in your packet before, but they just wanted to add that in there and make sure that it was known that currently there are no tests for a lot of the specialty contractor licenses, and there wouldn't be any new specialty contractor licenses issued until said test came back, or when and if they came back. So they just wanted to make that in there to make it known that A, B, and C contractors can do all those specialty contractor licenses, including swimming pools now, with the exception, of course, of fire sprinkler, fire alarm, and those types. But he just wanted to put some clarification language in there. So that was the only change than what you guys saw. There wasn't anything different than what you approved, just some clarification language. But the ordinance is in your packet if you want to read through it, but it's.
So if a contractor from outside wants to come in here and get licensed, what that's saying is he can't until there's a test?
To be a specialty contractor, you can,
You have to wait until there's a test.
or they can have a related degree. If you have a related degree, you don't need to take the test. But right now, for a lot of those, there is no test for that specialty license. Let's see, what were they?
Mason.
There was sign contractor, right-of-way contractor, masonry, specialty framer, erector, concrete. Anyway, yeah, those types did not, there's no test for those currently. Because of the Prometric decided that they didn't want to do those anymore, if you recall from the last meeting. But any of those, there was still, as it shows in chart 2, it's test or related degree. So if somebody wanted to be a specialty contractor and they had someone in their employ who had a related degree, which there's a definition for that in there too, it tells you what your degree has to be in, and then we can go forth from there. Otherwise, Class A or B or C could still do those things. But
So if a big contractor comes in and brings in outside subs, which I assume has happened on bricklaying, do those guys have the license to lay the brick on some of the bigger projects that's going on?
they just work under the general because.
If they're under the
can do that.
general, then
Yes.
they're okay.
Right. But if somebody comes in and just wants to, it's only a masonry project or only an erector project. If someone from outside of town came in, if they didn't have the appropriate degree and they couldn't take the test, then they would have to hire a general contractor to pull the permit. They'd work under them and they would get the job done.
But it could still happen.
Yes, yeah, it could still happen. Hopeful that some tests will be coming up here in the somewhat near future, and we won't have to struggle through this. There's not a whole lot of applications for specially licensed contractors anyway, so hopefully it won't affect us too much. And it also doesn't affect anybody who currently holds one. You can still renew your license. This still same, no change there. So, but I think those were a lot of the clarifications that, they wanted to have in there and make sure that it's in code, and so everybody knows it's on the same page on what's going on.
Then we had a question on foundations from the last,
We were going to table that because he hasn't had a chance to.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the drain?
yeah,
Yeah, he hasn't had a chance to get on it yet.
Okay.
So.
all right. Just want to make sure we didn't miss that. All right. Any other items before we adjourn? Okay, you can go now.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say aye.